Hey folks, Chris Rowe here. So I want to touch on a capability that you may or may not be using, which is pretty valuable. You can leverage this in Gemini Code Assist, whether that's in VS Code or in IntelliJ IDEs. You can leverage this in Gemini CLI. But in a lot of cases, you've got a behavior that you need. Maybe there's some processing you need to do that is fairly deterministic, involves a lot of logic. It might involve iteration or looping, perhaps through a large number of files or a large file. And this is not the best use of an agent, right? So not directly. The best way to leverage an agent when you need something like this done locally in one of these, in a development environment, is to have that agent quickly generate you code, a script, a tool that will execute deterministic, predictable, repeatable behavior. And so I'm going to take a look at that. It came up very recently with one of the developers that I'm supporting that there was a large CSV file in this example that the developer was trying to process. I think it was over a megabyte in size, and I didn't see the exact instructions that were being used to parse it. But in a lot of cases, this can either cause the agent to take a long time, or it can even time out in some cases, depending on the size of the file and the complexity of the request and the amount of logic involved. But at the end of the day, right, sometimes we want predictable behavior. We obviously want fast behavior. And sometimes we want to be able to review the logic that the agent is going to employ. And you can kind of solve all of these things at once by just saying, hey, why don't you create a quick script, a quick tool to do the work. So we'll take that CSV example that I mentioned. I've got Gemini Code Assist open here in my VS Code project. I've had a CSV file generated, and actually I downloaded this CSV file because it's got a lot of data in it. In fact, it's an interesting data set that I've downloaded because it has salary data in it, and it's got a large amount of salary data from a variety of job postings. And so you can kind of see in here if I scroll back to the top really quickly. So I've got a job ID, I've got a title, a salary, and employment. We've got employment levels and the location, the company and the location, the size of the organization, where the employee is going to reside, so on and so forth. And ultimately, there's a posting date on here, which I'm going to leverage. But let's say this had been some output that your application that you're working on. In this case, I've got an application open that actually does generate CSV files. They tend to be smaller than this one, which is 2.5 meg total. But I occasionally have Gemini search the output of the code in this code base to validate the results, and the output is tabular. And so one of the things that you might want to do in some cases is say, hey, find me rows where 2 columns add up to a negative number or something like that. So there's some searching, there's some calculating, there's definitely a lot of iteration, right? It's through this file. It's not just a blind kind of regex, right? And so that's where this sort of approach that I'm going to show you comes in handy. So I can say, hey, I could ask it a question like, tell me 3 rows in this sheet or in this tabular data that have a salary above 100K USD and a date from June of last year. So it's going to have to do a couple of things, right? It's going to have to not just do a numeric, not just do a textual pattern match on these numbers. It's also going to have to kind of look at the dates and interpret the dates on these rows and figure out if they fall within a given range, as well as looking at the salary. And so there's going to be some processing, and it's going to have to happen at a per row level. It can't just find all the rows that match X or Y. So I'm going to go ahead and give it that instruction. Now, because this is a 2.5 meg file, this is going to be somewhat taxing on the agent. And I told it to just retrieve 3 rows. That's going to make it somewhat feasible for this to do. It says I'm going to create a short to-do list. I'm going to read the CSV to find the rows matching salary greater than 100K and a date in June. I'll report the findings. So it's reading the CSV file. It's doing some analysis. It's doing the work now. And sometimes this sort of thing will work, and you'll get an output. I'm fairly confident I will this time. And sometimes, depending on the complexity of the request and the amount of data that's being processed, it's ultimately going to time out and fail. But at the end of the day, it's taking way longer than ideally it should or had it or could, especially if this is the sort of thing that I would want to repeat a lot, maybe with different parameters. Maybe I have a different salary or I have a different date range. So yeah, it came back and it found 3 rows, and you can see, on each of these it meets. There's June 21st of last year. There's June 5th of last year. So the dates are right. The salaries, are within the range that I recommended, and I did get 3 rows back. So those are all valid there. So this is a public data set, by the way. So I'm going to go ahead now and in order to make this repeatable, to make it fast, to make it reliable, and in order to be able to kind of audit the process that it's taking, I'm going to say, please. I just typed it. Okay. Please generate a script that a repeatable / reusable script that will accept the salary range and the date range and return a count of rows found. So this would be the better way, for all the reasons previously discussed, to do this. It's going to avoid the timeouts that you're going to run into in some cases, especially with larger files, especially with more complex calculations. It's going to be predictable. The same logic is going to be applied every time. It's going to run a heck of a lot faster. And so it's something that you can version control. You can put it in your scripts folder along with your as part of your repo. So it's going to build me a filter jobs.js, and it's building me a README, which is nice, with usage examples and everything. Probably something I should have asked for, but thank you, Gemini, for thinking of that. So let's see if I'm done here. I should be able to just execute this with a node command. Generated the JS file, and now it's going to generate a README file. Okay, so that's done. Please, okay, it's doing one more thing here. Please execute the script for, but this time return. Please execute the script for a minimum salary of 150K and a date range of the first quarter of 2024. So I don't even have to, what's great is I don't even have to handwrite. It gave me an example of how to run it. It's just the node command, node space in this case, and it could be Python. It could be whatever language you're working with here. It's going to work similarly, but you can see it made this simple script. It's with parameters. It even gave me an example where I can copy and paste it. But I can just use natural language as well to tell it to execute, which is great. And it will go ahead and do that. So it's ready to run the script now. It prepared the command based on what I told it to do, based on the search that I wanted performed. So this is the command here. Obviously, having it form that command takes a little bit longer. I can, if I had just copied and pasted that example and changed the arguments, it would have been very, very quick. But let me go ahead and click allow. Of course, in Gemini Code in Gemini, I can just go ahead and do the. I can do in Gemini CLI if I use the exclamation point, I can execute code a shell script directly within. Okay, let's directly within the prompt there. So it just ran that script. It is done. It said it showed me the command that it used. It found 510 rows that have a salary greater than 150 and a post date, a posting date on the job from January 1st to March 31st, and notes that those dates were inclusive. That range was inclusive of the beginning and end date. So, yeah. I'm going to just see the output myself. It tells me that it found 510 rows, but I could just easily just copy this and run it directly from my terminal down here, right? And you can see I got a JSON object output instantly with 500 giving me a count of 510. So it's just lightning fast, sub-second, just a few milliseconds, as a matter of fact. And so that sort of processing, you saw how long it took the first time when I did it with entirely via the agent and via non-deterministic behaviors. And now, no matter how many times I run this, it's going to run in milliseconds, and it's, I can quickly change the argument. I could change the date range from, to just include the month of March, for example. Run it again, and did I do that right? Oh, I see, I screwed that up. Okay. Yeah, so I got 168 that time, which is, I don't know, what, sounds right. If 3 months is 510 and 1 month is 168, that checks out. So, and it, no matter how many times I run this, it runs quick. I get the same answer. So, I can have it save this script in, my scripts folder as part of my repo and use it anytime I want. Definitely use this when you have use cases like this that involve processing, especially when you're processing multiple files, large files, especially if there's math involved or other calculations. This is a great way to approach that. So